welcome to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Al Dietrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. To our viewers at home, we're going to talk all about how to de-tax your retirement. What does that mean, de-tax your retirement? You don't want to miss today's episode. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Al, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good. It's so good to see you both.
You
and
too.
Today's show is very interesting and very timely because obviously you heard that correctly, viewers at home. We want to de-tax your retirement. Well, what does that mean? A lot of people spend their entire life working to get to the retirement years, and they want to just enjoy the fruits of their labor, if you will. But what they're not prepared for sometimes is what we call a tax hangover. Well, what is a tax hangover? We can help you detox your retirement. When we think about detoxing our bodies, we are actually removing anything that's harmful, any chemicals. We want to flush them out, make them clean and clear. Well, there's a way to do a detox/detax for your retirement. And we're going to talk all about that today and what that means. So Kevin, I want to ask you, first of all, what is this potential tax hangover once we're in retirement? What is a tax hangover?
Well, I'm sure some folks listening at home know what a hangover is like. So in the financial perspective, it's something that remains from what was or from the past. So most of our retirement assets, if you will, are in what they call qualified accounts, which so you're deferring the tax till when you decide to withdraw the money. And so that really sort of develops so the taxes aren't quite paid yet, so it develops a tax hangover because it will come in the future based on what you've done in the past. Okay. So it's sort of a play on words is what we're trying to get at today.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And I love that. It's very interesting information. Al, I want to ask you an important question too, because obviously people are assuming a lot of times that taxes will be a lower tax rate in retirement. Let's talk a little bit about why that's a common misconception that taxes will be lower in retirement.
Yes, that's a good point. A hangover is because it hangs around.
There you go.
Taxes don't go away. They hang around for the rest of your life, right? And for most people retiring today, we still have a few prospective clients that are out there that have pensions, and they need advice on how to do that as well. But most people have their money in a 401k and some kind of qualified plan, 401k, TSP, TSA, so on and so forth. A lot of nice letters, okay? But each of them carries the same agreement we made when we opened them, and that was that Uncle Sam promised us that we were going to get X amount of dollars put in, and we can write that off of our taxes, quote unquote, temporarily. Okay. But at some point, that money will grow. And now we will need to pay taxes on the seed, what we put in, plus the harvest, the growth. And so that tends to increase our income considerably, whether we need it or not. It needs to come out. That's called required minimum distributions.
RMDs, okay? Yes.
And that starts for most people today around age 73. If you're born after 1960, it's 75. Okay. So whether you need to or not, at that point in time, you're required to take those. Okay. Just for the viewers out there, you can start withdrawing from your qualified plan without federal penalties at age 59 and a half. Okay. But so we have to understand that as we start taking those monies out year after year after year, we're taking and paying the tax. But what happens during that next year? The money's growing again.
Absolutely.
So the money we just paid tax on, we're growing again, and we got to pay tax on that again.
Wow.
And again and again. So 401ks are a blessing and
a curse.
So we count our blessings, but let's prepare for the curse.
Yes.
Okay. And that's done by sitting down and having someone forecast that for you. Okay, and you can detox it, and there are several ways, and we're going to talk about that today. But I just wanted to lay a foundation for what's that money doing? Okay, when all the time it's growing and growing and growing, and at some point we're going to pay tax on it.
Yes,
every year.
I think a lot of folks think just because they stop working that their income comes down, but actually their income can even remain the same or even increase. We see that all the time in retirement.
Sure.
And we also don't know what the tax situation will be going forward in the future. There's some things we can control and plan for now. There's some things that are out of our control. Inflation, what the tax brackets may be, 10, 15 years from now. We don't know what those are. Those are controlled by other people.
Absolutely.
In higher positions.
They are.
We need to just take advantage of what we can do now, but also understand that, with RMDs, with Social Security benefits, with investment income coming in, pensions, all that adds up.
Yes.
Right? And it can actually increase our income and end up paying more money in taxes than you really realize in retirement.
Absolutely, Kevin. Thank you so much for mentioning that.
Sure.
And obviously, Al, you talked about RMDs being a situation and also Social Security. Talk a little bit more in depth about how taxes on Social Security actually can make an impact.
Yes. Taxes on Social Security, when you begin taking Social Security, there's a program for the federal government. It's called a provisional income rule. Okay. And what that does is it tells you, what to put into this formula. And part of what goes into the formula is an amount of 50% of your household Social Security income. Single, it's 50% of that person's income goes into the formula.
Okay.
If it's married, then both of that goes into the formula. And then that formula is determined, and then it's compared to a graph that tells you if you're single and you made under $25,000 in the provisional income formula, you may not have to pay taxes. You made 20 single and 25 and over, well then up to 50% can be taxed. And if you made over $34,000 single, then up to 85% can be taxed.
Wow.
And married, it's the same formula, except the numbers are, if you made over 32,000, then 50% is taxed. Over 44,000, up to 85% can be taxed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
the provisional
things to keep
income
in
really
consideration.
just is trying to figure out how much of your Social Security benefit is taxable. Then that goes into your income for the year, and then you add all your other income in. And so it can definitely throw you into another tax bracket a lot of times.
Absolutely. And Kevin, you mentioned obviously RMDs. Talk a little bit about how that can have an impact if those are taxed as well.
RMDs, for people that don't really know what those are, it's required minimum distribution.
Okay.
So at age 73, it used to be 70 and a half. And then some changes have been made over the last several years, bumped up to 72. Now it's at 73 is the minimum age. If you're born after 1960, for example, then it's actually up to 75 years of age is the required minimum distribution age.
Okay.
Now that is determined by that the rule states that if whatever's in your qualified plans, everything together. So what are qualified plans? Your 401ks, your 403bs, your IRAs, TSA, TSPs, SEPs, all of those are tax deferred qualified plans. All that money gets added up. And it's divided by a percentage, and then that's how much you have to take out of those plans. You have to take out of those plans, or there's a penalty.
Okay.
And that penalty does change each year. So it's just something that we need to know about. And so you might not need the money, but the IRS, when you put the money into it and you got that tax deferment, that tax write-off, you made a deal with it, then they're saying that you will take the money out at a certain age.
Okay, perfect. Well, gentlemen, we have to take our first commercial break. I'm sorry, we have run out of time so quickly in this first segment. To our viewers at home, there's a number to call on your screen, 888-959-2743. And if you're in the viewing audience today and you're asking yourself, wow, am I going to have a possible tax hangover if I don't take action today? And if you're nervous about that, what you're being offered is a customized retirement plan. Just by calling in to 888-959-2743, you can see how important it is to really navigate the unknown tax rates in the future by taking action today. We're telling you how to detax your retirement, how to detox your retirement. We don't want you to have a tax hangover. All you have to do is call in 888-959-2743, or you can grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That takes you right to the landing page for First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. You can schedule your time accordingly for that customized retirement plan. We'll be right back momentarily.
First Choice Financial Services. We're based out of Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. So if you're familiar with Harrisburg, there's a river that splits the mid-state in half. And on the right side is the Harrisburg City, and on the left side is what we call the West Shore. We're based in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, which is just across the river from Harrisburg.
Everybody that works in our firm just has a heart for other people. My 2 sons are partners in the corporation. Their wives are very active in the corporation. The rest of the people in the corporation are, all but 2, are family.
I wouldn't want a practice that's not family-based or faith-based. If you're a believer, you're a Christian, then you have to live that. It's your life. It's who you are. It's your identity. My identity is in Christ and Christ alone, and I'm not going to waver from that. And why not have that spill over into my business, my practice? It's all over our walls, all over our TV screens, and they can see our heart, and they know, hey, we take care of them, and we love them as individuals, and we care for them and their soul.
When we've sat down with somebody and we've taken time to get to know them and put something into place that's going to really meet their needs, to see the look of relief or the posture change when they walk out of the office feeling confident and a little less worried of the years to come.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Al Dietrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. We're talking all about the potential tax hangover that you can have in your retirement years if you're not taking action today. We want you to detax and we want you to detox your retirement going forward. Al, I want to ask you a question. You briefly mentioned investment income. Can we talk a little bit about how this can contribute to a tax hangover if someone has investment income?
Yeah, sure. Let's bring provisional income back into this because that's how it affects Social Security amounts being taxed.
Okay.
When you're dealing with investment income, you're going to deal with 2 things. You're going to deal with capital gains, and you're going to deal with income and interest income. Okay, and they both go into that provisional formula. So that's how that will affect your Social Security.
Okay.
In addition to that, of course, we are also going to pay capital gains on stocks, bonds, mutual funds, those type of things. And we're also going to pay interest income on CDs, gained from annuities, your employment, your earned income, and dividends as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So we need to be aware of that, and it goes on the tax form. And of course, we're obligated to pay the tax rate on that, but we need to be careful that it doesn't throw us into a higher tax rate. And let me just say this: when people are looking at ways of avoiding this, okay, it isn't such a bad thing to go from a 10 to a 12% tax rate.
Okay.
Or from a 22 to a 24% tax rate. But if this is going to take you from a 12 to a 22% tax rate, that's 10%.
That's huge.
And if it takes you from a 24 to a 32% tax rate, that's 8%.
Absolutely.
So those are some very serious things that you want to avoid.
Okay. Al, thank you. Very
You're very
important
welcome.
point.
And these are non-qualified accounts that we're referring to.
Right.
We talked about qualified accounts like the tax deferment, IRAs, or 401ks, those type of things. But what if, let's say, you were putting money from your checking account into in a stock or a bond or mutual fund, and you get some gains? Well, a lot of times those gains are called dividends or capital gains, and that's taxable.
Absolutely.
The year you're getting the gain is taxable. Now, you might not receive that income. You might not receive it in your checking account,
right.
But you're going to be paid tax on it, and it gets rolled back into your account. So those are things that are all part of the factors. That goes into the provisional income formula, plus anything that you've earned from the IRA, then you take it out, as far as income. So all of that plays a factor when you talk about taxable interest on your accounts in the market.
And it's so important to really talk about that because so often people have a lot of their amassed nest egg, if you will, in some of these non-Roth traditional IRAs and 401ks. And so when it's an unknown tax rate in the future, talk about how that can be a problem for people that are surprised by taxes.
Well, that's a huge problem. Most of our biggest nest egg, as you mentioned, I like that terminology, is in our 401k IRAs. That's what we've been contributing to all of our life through our employer.
Yes.
That's what's given us the biggest tax advantage while we're working. Okay, but there are unknowns. As I mentioned before, there's things that we can control. What we put into these accounts, we can control the percentage. We can't control what they make, obviously, right? Unless you're trying to, balance the stock market and trying to guess that. But when you withdraw the money in retirement, it's taxed as ordinary income.
Yes.
Whatever tax rate you're at. If you're over 73, that's for example, and you have to take RMDs as well, that's taxable. Maybe you don't need the money. You still have to pay tax on that.
Absolutely.
Only a Roth is the type of account that is still qualified, but it's a Roth, okay, and it grows tax free, and it was withdrawn is tax free.
I love that because you're paying tax on the seed versus the harvest down the road. Something so important to talk about.
Fun.
Al, why is it an important thing to talk about tax planning overall for your retirement years?
Well, we find that, most people, this is a fact I heard at one point from several doctors, and that was most people go through the bulk of their money in the last 2 years of their life.
Yes.
Okay. And so whatever and the purpose of that is usually bad health or being comfortable or so on and so forth in those areas. But we need to maintain as much of a balance as we can so that we are comfortable in the ending years of our life. So if during that period of time from the time we retire until end of life concerns, we keep giving Uncle Sam money needlessly, it will have a dramatic impact on that end of the year, end of life terms. Also, we want to pass, many of us want to pass on assets to our families.
Absolutely.
And that just really reduces the amount that we can pass on to our families when we haven't been prudent through the other years and making decisions and using strategies to save that money and to save that money and invest it, whether you keep it in the IRA or you move it over to a Roth, whatever you do, you try to conserve the amount of money that you're going to pay in taxes.
Yes.
That's all I'll say about that.
I love that. That was a great response. It really was.
Sure.
I did want to mention just something real quick I was thinking about when he was speaking is that the traditional IRAs, the IRAs that you have with their 401ks, that sort of thing, when you start taking RMDs out, it might take you into another tax bracket, which may affect your Medicare premiums.
Ah.
Okay, so that's something that is, there's so many different things that affect the taxes
Yes.
and other things. I mean, if you make a decision or something affects one part of your retirement, it can affect other parts as well.
Absolutely.
So it's really important that you get with an advisor, sit down and have a plan together, and that plan can be flexible. It could just give and take and have an ebb and flow to it. And because we don't know what we don't know, we also don't know what our tax situation will be like in retirement. Or the last 2 years of our life as we're trying to, maybe you have to go to long-term care. We don't know those things. So we need to try and make sure we have a plan together in place that can handle those stresses that come.
Absolutely, because it sounds to me like it could be a domino effect. If you make one mistake, it's going to knock the whole row
absolutely.
down. Al, you were going to say something.
It really does. I was just going to say that, what Kevin's referring to is something called IRMA, and it has a major impact on the Part B premium that you pay.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you can pay as little as $175 a month for Part B, but based upon how much money you've had to pay in taxes, that will be reflected in the provisional income and in your net income, your adjustable gross income, and that can go as high as $600 a month per person in the house.
Wow.
Just for your Part B. So it's extremely, that's a good point, Kevin.
Wow.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've noticed that a lot of times that happens. Someone might get kicked into the higher level for IRMA is when we have a loss of a spouse. And so then they get some inheritance. And so that it bumps them, that inheritance bumps that tax bracket up tremendously for that 1 year.
Yes.
But that year might go from a premium of Medicare Part B of 170 up to 325 or 350 for that 1 year per month. Wow. Okay, so it's a huge impact. So tax planning is so important when it comes to our investments.
Meanwhile, they just lost a Social Security check.
And a spouse.
Exactly. And you're forced to file single versus married when you lose your spouse.
Yep.
So we have to talk about all
Very
of that.
good.
But, thank you. Time for our next commercial break. To our viewers at home, there's a number to call on your screen, 888-959-2743. If you're in the viewing audience today asking yourself questions about how I can detax and detox my potential tax hangover, we have the answers for you. The customized retirement plan is exactly what you need. 888-959-2743. This is completely complimentary. There's no obligation whatsoever. You deserve to know what your tax obligation could be in the future and how to alleviate that in the present. Once again, 888-959-2743, or go ahead, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back momentarily.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Midstate Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Al Dietrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And we're talking all about how to detox your potential tax hangover. Today's show is very interesting and informative. This is a great show today, and I'm so glad that we're talking about this because a lot of people are unaware of what their potential tax hangover might look like. But I want to ask about some real life success stories. Kevin, can we start with you? Do you have any clients that you've helped recently that you've been able to detox their tax hangover, if you will?
Yeah, actually, my father has some stories. So he was just chomping the bit
here wanting to do that.
Yeah, good. Al's in the hot seat.
I wanted to talk about we can't do this for everybody, but I wanted to talk about a client that came to us. They were both in education. He was high school and she was college teaching. And he was fed up with the attitude that he's been dealing with our finer young men and women that are in school, and he just wanted to get out of there, right?
Okay.
But the way it looked physically, I mean, with his financials, it was going to be 3 or 4 more years, you know.
Okay.
And by the way, his financial advisor was in Georgia, and we're in PA.
Right.
So they came to us. They came to one of our workshops, and they loved what they heard, and they came. And we talked, and the thing that he kept saying is, Al, if you can get me out of this, you can get me out of this. And I said, I don't know that I can do that, but let us try. We'll promise we'll try. And so we did. And so we were able to take the funds that he had and put together an income plan, put together a spending plan. And this was in September of the year. June of the following year, he retired. And he was just elated. And so when he did, part of taking that was we needed to pay off some of the mortgage so his monthly need wasn't so high. Okay. So debt reduction is very, very important to you at home. And so we wanted to make sure that he didn't have any more income than he needed to pay taxes on. So we did all of that. Well, that resulted in his net income or his adjusted gross income for that year to go higher. And then that resulted in Irma being $500 a month for him in retirement.
Okay.
So he was concerned about that. How do I do that? Well, what happened was we wrote a letter to the IRS on his behalf and explained the whole situation. And lo and behold, the IRS made a change and undid the $500 per month and put him back at $175 per month.
Okay.
It was just an explanation that this was not an ongoing income.
Yes.
It was a temporary one-time situation. And again, it made a tremendous impact on he and his wife.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Kevin, you mentioned you're seeing this every single day with people that come in for the very first time after scheduling that consultation. What does it feel like for you when you can detox someone's retirement?
Oh, it feels absolutely great. And they are elated. I mean, they don't know what they don't know. And they are just coming in with overwhelming questions about everything.
Yes.
Taxes, Social Security, Medicare, all of that. And that all ties together. You know, we talked about before, we mentioned a lot on the show, is that we do workshops on a monthly basis, and we touch on Social Security, Medicare, and taxes and retirement. We touch on it. I mean, we can do a several-hour workshop on Social Security just alone, same with Medicare and same with taxes. But we try to wrap it up and give them as much as they can and to learn some things and take with them, but also get some help if they need it.
Sure.
So it's so important that we look at some strategies and put a plan together for their retirement. I was thinking about this just the other day, is the whole term of detoxing.
Yes.
When we detox our body, we just stop what we're doing, right? And we need to make some changes. But we stop what we're doing. We eliminate a lot of things that we don't need. But we have to evaluate in our own life what things that we don't need to be in our body, right?
That's true.
So we need to stop sometimes of the direction we're going and get some help, right?
That's
and
very
so that's
true.
what I think is what we do. There's a professor that I went that used to say something when I went to college. He said, "If nothing changes, nothing changes."
Very profound.
So that really sticks with me because that is very profound, because that could be, mean a lot of things to different people and different things, So if nothing changes, nothing changes. So sometimes you just need to make a change.
Yes.
And get some help.
Gentlemen, thank you for another amazing episode this week. To our viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us. If you realize you need a change, this is the time to call in 888-959-2743 or snap the QR code. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today. Take care.